Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. We're still joined by head softball coach Brittany Bennett. Coach, we talked about her a little bit earlier in the show, but Selena Ashley has been your go-to pitcher for a lot of the season. Let's talk about newcomer Katie Saunders, who's really come into her own, particularly over the last couple of weeks. Katie's 8-8 this season and has allowed just 9 hits and 3 earned runs over her last 17 innings of work. How valuable has she been to your pitching staff?
Well, I think Katie Saunders, anytime you're a transfer, just like Selena, you got to come in and you got to find a way to get in with the group. And I think that happened this spring at North Georgia. The kid gets hit smack dab in the eye, comes out, we do all the testing and protocol to make sure she's okay, comes back in and pitches the second game and gives us a chance to win. She has really come in to her own right now, and I'm really happy with what I'm getting from her. If you would have watched us at the beginning of the season, watched us where we're at now, you can see a huge change in her. And a lot of people don't realize this. When you transfer in and you haven't played a lot because you've been hurt or vice versa, it takes experience to feel good, and she's finally got that after a few games under her belt, and you can definitely see a huge transition in who she is now than who she was in February.
We talk about this a little bit with coaches. We talk a lot about their players, but I want to give you the chance to talk about your coaching staff and what they've meant to the success of your team over the last 2 years.
Well, I can talk about Coach Smith and Coach Hobbs all day long. You can just see it in my face when I light up because I have 2 of the best coaches that you can ask for. I love having a male and I love having a female on staff because it gives us a bunch different perspective when we're at practice. And let me tell you what. I don't know another assistant coach and head coach that gets along better than my staff and ourselves. So I'm real happy with Kristen. I think she does a tremendous job. I think she's a huge asset for this university. She's a student here. She's a student athlete here. She lives and dies and bleeds black and gold. Coach Smith went to school here. So I guess I'm the only one that didn't go to school here. But, Coach Hobbs, Coach Smith are so good at what I'm bad at. And I laugh at that because I'm so bad at a lot of things, and they keep me in check. So there's nothing more I could say about those 2, just nothing but positive. And I'm going to try to keep them as long as I can. But obviously, I would recommend them highly. But I want those guys to stay around forever. But that's selfish of me. Well,
looking at your schedule, you have played your first 25 games of the season. 23 of them were at home. And now you're embarking on a 10-game road streak here. You've already had a few on the road, but a few more left to go before you return home. You're going to play Winston-Salem State, Augusta, and Georgia College. Just go ahead and kind of tell me, how the transition has been from coaching at home to then coaching on the road with this team.
Well, I think we don't take any game differently. I think our setup's still the same. It's nice not to have to do field work. But my girls enjoy not having to direct the field in between games. But, a lot of my girls like to play on the road. And I asked the other day, they're like, oh, I love playing on the road. And I said, why? And they said, because I like to take a game from people at their place. Obviously, it's the first time at Winston-Salem, so I've not been there, and that's going to be a new condition for us. But I've been to Augusta, being in the Peach Belt. I used to coach at Georgia College. That place feels like home to me. I think our kids get a little bit of aggression when they get on the road because they try to shove it down, when they're on the road. So it's a good transition. I didn't want to play that many games at home and this many games on the road, but for some reason that schedule keeps working out that way. So we're going to try to mix it up next year, hopefully.
Well, a coach's job is never done when it comes to recruiting. What are the areas that you're addressing during your recruiting season, and how many new faces do you expect to bring in for the 2016 campaign?
A lot of new faces, but it's to be expected with a new coach. I really believe in the juniors and seniors that I inherited my first year last year. I enjoy coaching them. Everything about them is positive, and I chose to keep them because I think they are huge assets to this program. But, with any kind of new change, you're always going to want to try to bring in as many kids as you can. Our goal is to get a little bit deeper. I'd like to have, as you can see right now with where we're at with injuries, I'd like to have a few more people on the roster, and I'd like to have a little bit more mobility to move people around, and that's what we're trying to do. So I think we have right now 12 coming in, which sounds like a lot, but when you think about where we're at right now, it doesn't seem like so much. So just try to fill in some holes, get a little bit more deep, and try to get a little bit more people that are in the philosophy of what we're trying to do.
Well, what would you say prospective student athletes should be doing at this point of the year to get noticed, not just by you, but other collegiate coaches, head coaches as well?
Well, if you sat 5 coaches down in a room and said, pick a student athlete off this team that you'd like to have, I think you'd get 2 or 3 different answers. So we're all different. But, for me, it's just about accountability and hustle and heart. I watch a kid strike out, and everybody thinks I'm going to immediately not recruit that kid. But that kid strikes out, goes back to her teammate and says, hey, this is what I'm looking for, or makes an error and keeps her head up and picks up her teammates. Those little things are what will separate you. People always ask me that question, so I always think it's interesting. But you know, a kid that just picks people up and doesn't hang her head and looks for coaching and doesn't yell at the umpire are things that we definitely need to look for. And I think that fits in what we're about, because I think we have great sportsmanship on this team. I think we stand for what's correct in the game. We have a good traditional program here. We tuck our shirts in and things like that. So, you know, just little things. We always will notice you by your talent, but it's the little things that'll separate you out from getting recruited.
We kind of mentioned a little bit of this already, but if you had to list 3 things that you look for in prospective student athletes at UNCP, what would they be?
As a good student, you know, first of all, we want to recruit good students to this university. I think UNCP has great academic programs here for us to succeed in. So first, they need to be a good student. The second thing we're going to look at is their attitude. You know, hustle on and off the field, how they respond, how they communicate. And I think the third thing, which is a real huge separation factor, is how much stuff they do on their own. So, you know, when we call kids, do they answer the phone call or do they just text you back? You know, this communication thing is a huge topic and buzz topic among coaches and how they communicate. So we're looking for kids that can fill out their own applications. They can be the ones that I talk to and not their parents. You know, just trying to establish a base where they're answering for themselves and doing things that they need to do to be successful in the classroom and on the field.
All right, well, thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thanks, Jenna.
And we're going to take our next break, and when we come back, we're going to watch a feature on head women's soccer coach Lars Anderson, so stay tuned.